This show is intended for mature audiences. Topics of adult content, triggers, and explicit language may be discussed with or without warning. All thoughts and opinions belong to our hosts and do not reflect the original creator's own intentions. Spoilers for the book will be discussed, and while most discussion will revolve around the picked book, we do not guarantee there will be no spoiler warnings for other books or series. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Biblio Madness, a podcast for book lovers where we discuss our current and favorite reads. I'm your host, Rachel.
And I'm your host, Laken. Today, in this episode, we are very excited to present the overview of the absolutely captivating novel, Crush, by Tracy Wolff. This is the second installment in the Crave series. If you have not listened to our first episode, go back and listen to that before you come into this one.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of spoilers.
Because this is going to be spoiler heavy. It's kind of hard to talk about a sequel without spoilers. But yeah, get ready to join us in this ride throughout these pages as we discuss these compelling characters, intricate plot twists. This was just a real emotional roller coaster from like start to end. Yeah, from the romance it has to the mystery, this kept me on my toes the whole time, I think.
Kept me flipping through all the pages.
I could not put this book down.
You read it very, very quickly.
I read it incredibly fast. So yeah, if all of you who are out there listening, if this is your first time, grab something cozy, get ready to snuggle in with us as we get into this book, and welcome. Forgot to say that.
It's okay. Welcome. Grab something cozy, as in a drink, a snack, a blanket, a couch, a reading nook, an outside chair, anything that works that you're listening. And if your cozy is walking or running, have fun and good luck. Be safe.
Not me.
No, not me either. I'll walk. I used to run, but it hurts my knees and ankles now, and everything's in pain. So I don't.
There's too much pain involved in running right now.
Yep, lots of pain. But as we discussed Crush, we read this book so quickly.
Yes.
I think it was a week for both. Maybe.
I don't remember. I would say that if I did not have children, this book would have been read in like a day or two. Because,
that's fair.
But unfortunately, life happens, and you can't always, read it as fast as you want. But it was a quick read.
It was very quick. Very quick read for a 700-page book, I would say.
Yeah, it didn't feel like 700 pages.
Yeah, because like sure. the third book that we're currently reading, I'm already like 200 pages in, I think.
I can't remember. I think I'm a little bit further than
you have to be at 300 by now.
I'm more
3 or 4.
300 or 400, I think.
Yeah.
About halfway. Maybe a little bit more
halfway.
than half.
We can't, if we say 400 pages, then that's halfway. Tracy, I don't know how she made 6 books in 3 years. That's 2 books a year.
This is like a testament to her, because not only is it like all of the books are like that length, and she put them out that quickly, they're all good, and you all like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like you're reading that much.
I found out that one of my friends, she also read the whole series, and she just has Cherish left.
Oh, really?
And she loves it. She also compared it to Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So I was like,
it does have that vibe.
I finally found one person, and can you guess that person? It was Faith.
It was Faith?
It was Faith.
Nice.
So now we can talk to Faith about it.
Sweet.
It's very exciting. All of my sister-in-laws.
Both of them. All 2.
Yeah, all 2. All 2 of them. Both read. Alright, so book overview. We're going to start with Crush. It's the continuous story of Grace and Jackson from Crave. And Crave left us off at a big cliffhanger.
Giant cliffhanger. So we didn't really talk about the last 100 pages in the first episode when we talked about Crave, because we didn't want those of you in the audience to be spoiled for that. Yep. But, like I said, we're probably going to be discussing this.
Yep.
This is book 2. You've had time.
If you haven't read it, I'm sorry. We gave you 2 weeks. And if you want to skip this episode, I understand. It's okay.
If you still haven't read it, just pause it, read it, and come back.
Yeah, come back after you read it. No offense. If you want it spoiled before, then I also understand, because I have a friend who goes to the back of a book first and then reads the last sentence.
I cannot do that.
Before reading the book to see if she'll like it.
I can't.
Or she'll read the last chapter.
Do you know how many like books that I would have had like completely spoiled everything if I had done that?
Crave
would have been one
Crush.
of them. And Crush. I forgot about that. Holy cow.
Crush's last sentence.
But anyways, for what we're talking about, like we said, the continuation of Grace and Jackson's story, and we have a wrench thrown into the whole cog. The last sentence of Crave was Hudson trying to kill Jackson.
Hudson's back.
Yay! Which
I like Hudson. You don't. I do.
No, I didn't say that. Listen, okay, I did not like Hudson at the beginning, but I think we weren't supposed to. But I always knew Hudson was who that we were. As soon as he was written into the equation, I was like, this is going to be our final guy here.
Because Hudson and Grace have chemistry. Jackson and Grace were too easy.
Yes, they were too easy. It was a very they talked about how much we loved Jackson and Grace in the first episode, and I think that still stands true for me.
Yeah.
But they very much had like a first puppy love in my eyes. Like, it was very sweet. Yeah. And I think it was something that both of them needed in that time in their lives, but it's not the tension and the chemistry and the real banter that we get with Hudson and Grace.
And we're getting to this is farther to the end of the book, so we're gonna hold off because I'm about to spoil something real big real quick, and I'm trying real hard not to.
It's me that
I
have a hard time not spoiling.
It's in page 326, I think, that I'm thinking of. The whole thing that I told you and I predicted in the first book happened.
We're still in, okay. Well, it kind of happened.
Like, kind of happened.
We have
girl, you're fooling yourself.
I'm further in the third book than you, and I know things that you don't.
But I know men well enough to say that man and Flint are supposed to be together.
So, you've mentioned this in the last episode.
Yeah,
that you think Jackson and Flint are going to be together.
100%.
And
she doesn't believe me.
I didn't say I didn't believe you. I didn't at first. Now, after reading this book, there is a line where Jackson,
they're enemies to lovers. That's their plot line, is enemies to lovers. They were friends to enemies to lovers. That is it. It's a good plot.
We'll see how they go, okay? Because right now, it's not how it's going in the third book.
Well, by the time you get to the fifth book, you're going to be like, well, Rachel knew.
Your theory is proving more correct, though, because we found out in this book. We find out in Crush that Flint is gay.
Yeah, we find out Flint's gay, which
he's actually had a crush on Jackson like their whole lives.
Yeah, no guy who is not gay, and I have he would be dating a girl, most likely, if he was straight.
Who?
Anyone.
Oh,
do you know how many girls?
Oh, yeah.
Flaunted themselves at Flint? If he was straight, he would have at least been a player,
so sweaty.
Or at least just been somebody who's looking for a long-term relationship. But he would have shown more signs than being just goofy the whole time and not caring about women at all. That doesn't happen.
I'm spooking the baby every time I talk.
Radiant, it's okay.
It's okay, baby. Mommy's voice loud. Yeah, I agree with that. So it's proving more true. I guess we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. I'm
freaking out.
I know, I can see. I'm calling it right now. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I believe it 100%. Nothing's been disproven.
Nothing has been disproven in your theory.
None.
So I can't say it's not right.
One part of my theory did come true.
Yeah.
The first part. So the second part has to. It just makes sense.
We'll see.
He's not gonna end up with Macy, and you want Jackson to be happy.
I don't think that's okay. We're tangent.
Yeah,
we'll come back to this because I have points I have to bring up, but it comes in the third book, so we'll probably touch back on this conversation in the next episode too.
LOL. It's fine.
I will just put a pin in it at "we'll see." For me,
if I have to look forward to Macy and Jackson in a relationship, I'm gonna get mad.
No, I definitely don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Even with anything else, I don't think
about
that
to be
happen.
like if you're telling me that right now.
No, there's other relations hinted at for Macy in the third book that we're at, so we'll see. Anyways,
that's exciting.
This
me.
Yeah. What were you talking about?
We got off on a really bad tangent, guys. Sorry. I just needed to get that off my chest because this book enlightened so much to do with my theory. But the storyline is what we were talking about, the brief book overview. A lot of action. This book is I would compare it to Goblet of Fire and Hogwarts. Very similar.
Yeah, it is. As compared to the first book, it is very fast paced. Yep. There's a lot that happens.
Yeah.
There is a lot of action. The stakes are a lot higher
Yep.
in this book.
And you still get the feeling of speed reading because the chapters are like a page or 2 pages or 3 pages. The longest I've seen is like maybe 5 pages long. Mm-hmm. They're not long at all.
No.
Very quick. I think she went basically by 10-minute, 15-minute increments of talking. It was something would switch.
I'm going to have to adjust him. He's too hot.
He's like okay.
Red. Who's the sweaty baby? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know. He was comfy, but he was so sweaty. Okay, are you good? Can you just chill like this? Alright, back to where we were.
Good? Alright, so I would say let's start with first impressions before we get to character development, because that's what we've gone over. We've gone over basically our first impressions of the whole entire book. Mm-hmm. But when we get into Crush after Crave, all we know is that did they even say in Crave that she turned to stone?
No, I think at the very end of Crave, like the last sentence was like Hudson was swinging the sword at her and she jumped in front of Jackson and then it all went like black.
Yeah. So when you go into Crush,
we don't even know if Grace is alive.
Yeah, we don't know anything about Grace yet.
Oh no, we do. I take that back. We do know what kind of happens because there's a point of view from Jackson at the end of Crave. You're very awake now, aren't you? I just saw you looking at it. There's a point of view from Jackson where I think they're talking about her and like he wants them to have answers, right? Because he's talking to I have to move this since I have them out.
I was like, I can't hear you in the headphones, but I can hear you.
Yeah. What was I saying? Jackson's point of view at the end of Crave.
Yes.
It's where he, Macy, and Uncle Finn are like all talking about like how to get her out of stone.
Yes, so. That's true. That is at the end of Crave. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. But in Crush, we're going into the series. She wakes up in the middle of nowhere, starts walking around the halls. Everybody's staring at her, but that's atypical for them in the beginning for this school. Like they always stared at her.
She didn't think anything like wrong with it.
No.
She does like, yeah. Who she runs into? She runs into Mecky, right?
She runs into Mecky, and then she sees Flint, but then not yet. We don't know. She sees Flint, and then she runs into Flint. Starts screaming for her, like, "Hey Grace, and the teacher, who is a wolf, I believe.
There's a teacher that comes and takes her back to like the office.
Says that she needs to go see her uncle and needs to find Jackson. So after they talk and they find each other, Grace is confused. Like I would be
everyone's
confused.
Like freaked out. Like like they've seen a ghost.
And she went up to Mecky and was like, "Hey, I was looking for you. We have a book. What was it? Hamlet. They were reading for the podcast. Yeah, no. Not podcast. It's fine.
For their literature class.
For their literature. Reading for a podcast. Who knows about that? Hey.
What's up, dude? I'm sorry you got so hot.
Okay. Are you situated? Because if you're not, we can still take a quick break.
Oh, we're fine. I'm good.
Okay.
Even if unless he starts crying.
Okay. So we'll start back here. Just a heads up, editing Rachel. 1, 2, 3. Once she figures out and they finally get her into the office with her uncle and Jackson kind of explain what happened. Now, we're going to probably not give all of the details away because we hope you're reading the series along or you're going to want to read the series. They explain like what happened. She was stoned.
Yeah.
They told her what she was.
Yeah, we find out. Do you want to say what she? I feel like we're going to mention what she is.
You have to.
It's hard not to. It's kind of what the rest of the series revolves around.
She's a gargoyle.
We find out that Grace is a gargoyle, like the first one in like thousands of years. And she had been trapped in stone, in her stone form, for like 4 months.
Yes.
She'd been MIA.
It's such a long time to be stuck.
Could
you imagine being gone for 4 months, stuck in a space unknown to humanity?
Yeah, and the worst part about this is Grace has like complete amnesia about it. She
Yep.
remembers nothing about being
For
like,
those
her
whole
time.
4 months, all of those months are gone for her, so she has no idea what's going on. She doesn't think time passed. And then she was told, and when she saw Jackson, he was skinny.
Yeah, Jackson had been
small.
withering away, which bless his
Sad.
heart.
And
Jackson.
I feel terrible for Jackson. I know you don't think I feel bad for Jack. I love him. I do, but I don't think he's meant to be with Grace.
I don't think he is either. I know that he's not. I knew that it was too easy in the first
Yeah.
book.
It just breaks my heart. Like, the whole situation breaks everyone's
My heart is... Let me just say that, like, I have a permanent crack in my heart right now where we're at with Jackson.
Yeah. Jackson's so good. He needs to be happy. I still think Flint's gonna do it.
I'm scared
but
for him right now.
No matter what his end is, if it's not Flint, I still think he deserves to be happy.
I do too. He's like my tortured, lost little soul, and I just want to, like...
Yeah, the first few chapters of Covet even explains how good he is.
Yeah.
With what he gave up.
Yes.
You remember that?
I do.
We're not going to talk about that. You guys talk about that in the next episode of the series. But, like, it explains how good of a person he is. Alright, so, Grace coming back without any of her memories, and we jump into the fact that Jackson, very, very skinny, seems very unhealthy. Something happened while she was gone, and now that I know what happened, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Her uncle tries to explain everything. Her uncle and Jackson fight about what they should do to fix things because she's a gargoyle. Like, go back to normal daily life or do this, and, you know, go back and forth with the typical character development. A lot of banter, a lot of good conversation. Jackson freaks out when he sees her. He's so happy to see her, and she's like, what's going on? Doesn't understand at all.
She's not, like, even aware, like, why he's so relieved to see her. Or, I think it starts to click for her, though, when she sees, like, how dramatically he looks.
Because, yeah, they took a whole chapter, which, again, is like 2 pages, but to describe how different he looks.
Yeah, they did. And so I think it starts clicking there in her brain that, like, you know, there's been a gap of time. There's something that's gone on.
So, with all that, her coming back as a gargoyle, Hudson being MIA, which is a big thing. No one knows where Hudson is. They thought she had Hudson. They
didn't know whether he was, whether she was trapped in there with him, or whether he was, like, still out on the loose somewhere.
They had no idea what happened to Hudson after that, because he, like, disappeared. And
he disappeared when Grace turned to stone.
Yep. So, Hudson's MIA. Everyone's freaking out. Everybody's happy to see her. Everyone's happy that she's back. You're okay. I was going to say you need to pull your mic up a little bit, but I'm scared that it's going to hit the baby. After that, what were your first impressions with the look of Jackson?
What were your thoughts? Of Jackson? Yeah. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, I don't know, him being so worried and, like, eat up with, like, guilt over... Which, that's the thing we have with Jackson a lot, is that he bears, like, the weight of the world and its problems on his shoulders. Like, but everything is his responsibility.
Turns out to be a toxic trait later.
It is very toxic.
It's a very toxic trait.
Even at the beginning, it's not a good trait, because, like, he's taking on all of this guilt and internalizing it that he's not responsible for. And, I mean, we kind of see touches of that even in the first book, with his guilt about Hudson and killing his brother.
He takes on all of the responsibility. Yeah. He thinks everything is his job. His job because of how powerful he is.
Yeah, his whole, like, I guess mantra is, you know, like, I'm strong to protect those that are weaker than me, so it's my responsibility to make sure that everybody else is okay.
Which isn't ideal for Jackson.
No.
But we do finally figure out where Hudson is.
Yes, we do. So, I mean, pretty early on we figure out.
Yeah, because the whole book is about getting Hudson out.
And I think it comes out into play, though, because Jackson and Grace are ecstatic over seeing each other again, and their mating bond, you know, is like
electrifying,
and sparking, and so they can't keep their hands off of each other.
In all the ways.
Yeah, and Grace, you know, they're kissing, and then she hears, like, this voice in her head that says, like, stop, not with him. And we're all like, what, pardon?
Huh?
Not with him. Why not?
Yeah, so she's like, can't hug him, she can't kiss him, she can't be around him without this voice just saying, no, no,
Yeah,
ew,
and she
gross.
has
Like,
this like repulsed feeling whenever she's
yep.
around Jackson, which is pretty problematic for your being around your boyfriend. You can't
Your
stand being intimate with him at
mated
all.
boyfriend. Mated. That's important because
Yeah.
in these fantasy books that we read,
This is like next level. It's more than just boyfriend girlfriend.
it's
This
more than
is
just husband wife.
yeah. It's on
Mate
a
outrules.
it's on a soul deep level.
Yeah,
that
because you're
this thing
actually
is.
physically connected to the other person. You can feel the
on a
other person,
spiritual level.
which is
What were you
so.
gonna say?
It's crazy that she couldn't touch him without hearing the voice in her head.
I know.
Which what we find out about this voice turns out to be Hudson because he
Yeah.
doesn't like making out with his brother.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's more than that. It's definitely more than
But
that.
they weren't before.
Huh? Before what? Okay, so what we just said, Hudson is in her head, right?
Yes.
And Hudson has been with her for
The whole time.
the entire time since they turned to stone. So they have 4 months of history together
Yes.
inside Grace's head that
Yes.
Grace can't remember. Hudson remembers
Hudson
everything.
remembers everything, and that's gotta suck because Hudson was stuck in her head like, "Hey, yo,
Yeah.
what's going on? I know you," and she's like, "I don't know you," and she goes, "I know, but I know you."
Yeah. So I mean, like first impressions of Hudson, from the first book, we all think that he's just some like crazy psychopath that has no reason for what he did.
Yes.
Right? We kind of start to see that that's not the case with
Very
Hudson
quickly.
very quickly, because even Grace like refers to him like at the beginning of like, oh, like I can't trust him. He's responsible for all of this, and Hudson's like got this like, really, you know absolutely nothing. Like you can't judge me for this.
And I think the ironic thing here that hit me like in the face because my favorite quote from Crave was history is written by the winner.
Yeah.
And Hudson's history was written by Jackson.
Because Jackson,
written by everyone else who saw him for what they wanted to see. Because, like Caleb said this like 2 seconds ago, whatever someone perceives of you is their truth in their reality. So no matter what your intentions are, what you're perceived as is the truth to everyone else. And that goes into a whole humanity situation, which is problematic. But that's reality. So if I'm not psychotic and everyone decides I am in the world,
why not pretend that I am?
Like
why not try to be anything? Why try to be anything different?
Yeah, why I can't prove if a psychotic person telling you I'm not psychotic, it's not going to do anything. A killer telling you they're not a killer when every person thinks you're a killer.
I'm sorry, this
still a
just
killer.
made me think of Zootopia.
I know, right?
Because like I don't know, for any of those that have seen the movie, Nick, which is like the fox in the movie or whatever.
Yeah.
He has a line that says that like if no one else was gonna see anything other than a shifty fox, that's all I was gonna show them. Like why bother be anything else?
Yeah, like why try? Why try to prove it? Because like we saw it also in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They played it as a cop joke to get somebody out of the hospital. They were like, "Oh, he's a crazy patient. He's supposed to go here." And they were like, "Oh, you're crazy?" He was like, "No, I'm not crazy." Yeah. And that obviously, if you say you're not crazy when somebody's saying you're crazy,
you're gonna look crazy.
You're gonna look crazy.
Yeah.
There's no way out of it.
Hudson definitely plays into this of like
a lot.
And I think it's more of a defense mechanism for Hudson as well. Like, and this is leading into another point that we have down here is like the dichotomy of Hudson.
Yep.
That we see. So we know that there's a history between him and Grace that we don't know, and there's plays and things that he says and the way that their like chemistry is that leads that he is not the psychophanic, like
he's not as crazy as
he's not a psychopath,
but he is as dangerous as everybody says.
He's very dangerous, yes.
His danger doesn't go away, and he doesn't ever say he's not dangerous. But we need to talk about Hudson a little bit more, being that we haven't mentioned his voice and what it sounds like. He has a British accent.
Yeah, Hudson's
because of
British.
course.
Of course. And being this dichotomy of evil, but not. This is actually a little further in the book. I actually have it tabbed for those of you that can't see. It's on page 520. The quote where he was. This is. I will touch back in this part because this isn't the scene of like where we're talking about certain things. But anyways, this one line is what I wanted to talk about because he says, I do know not every monster is what they seem.
Yeah, and that goes back to the line that I was talking about with histories written by
the history is being rewritten. That's what I was trying to.
But no, like I agree. It's very intriguing to see what people's perceptions of others create their character versus what their character actually is.
And like I said at the beginning, like I knew from the beginning that Hudson there was more to him than we were being shown.
Yeah.
Because of course, like you're reading this is the problem when you have one person narrations is that you only see from like their perspective. So I knew since Grace didn't know enough, like there was more to him, and I knew that he was not going to be as bad.
I agree.
As he was being portrayed.
I think also something as a reader now that I'm looking back at Crave is the way that they described Hudson would not make sense that Jackson was able to kill him.
Yeah, that leads into
farther into the book, but yeah, like
further into the book,
it makes a lot of sense.
I think Hudson let him kill him.
I don't think Hudson fought back.
I don't think so either.
I think Hudson saw his baby brother and thought of the wooden horse and was just like
side note, like ouch.
Yeah, ouch.
That my heart.
It breaks.
For both of these brothers,
breaks.
They have like a certain spot in my heart, and thinking about both of their like situations throughout these books is like it hurts.
It's heartbreaking. The whole book's heartbreaking. Again, we talked about it in the first podcast with Crave. Crave made you craving more. Crushed your soul, crushed your heart, crushed every thought you had. Yeah.
I texted her like as I was reading I don't know, somewhere in the like mid to end, and I was like, this book is crushing me.
Yeah, it's bad, and I'm scared to see where Covet takes us because.
Well, it's not as heartbreaking yet.
Well, its title's not Crush, so hopefully it will be okay.
Yeah.
We also get like the relationships. We talked about the fact that Hudson and Grace were together for 4 months. There's obviously some past history there that we don't know about yet.
He even like he hints at it a lot more than she does of like there's being something between them, and actually I think she does as well. Like she mentions that she feels more comfortable around him than she should be, and it's a repressed like there's a history and a chemistry we built in the 4 months that we were together that I don't remember.
The comfortability with somebody, it's rare to get comfortable with somebody so quickly, so like the fact that she means a lot. But also we need to add a little plot, because I know we're talking about a lot of things with characters. This plot of this book is to get Hudson out of her head. Once they find out he's there, everybody's freaking out because he can't be there. They want to get him out. They take him to the blood.
So her and Jackson in the beginning, when they find out that Hudson is trapped in her mind, Jackson takes her to the bloodletter, which is like, this age-old, like, legendary vampire that is like terrifying to everybody.
Who hangs humans upside down to get blood.
And like drains them into like buckets. Like she's
the classic vampire. She's like Dracula vampire vibes.
Which she's described as like a little old granny.
I know, and it made my heart
with like the little like permed curls.
Oh, the curls and the hair, and she's like so sweet. I was like, that's the bloodletter?
Yeah.
That's her. She's all terrifying. She wants to make a couple cupcakes.
This is also who raised Jackson. So it kind of, as we didn't really see her much in the first book. So like
that was mentioned, but we didn't see her.
Yeah, she was mentioned. Kind of meeting her and seeing like how she is, and it kind of gives you a glimpse into how Jackson is the way he is, because he's cold and off-putting and emits like his power. Yeah. And all that, and everyone is wary of him for rightful reasons. Both of the Vega brothers are like, everyone's like, I don't know. They're dangerous.
So, as we mentioned before, this book is like Goblet of Fire. We haven't explained why. So, in this book, to get Hudson out, after they meet with the bloodletter teaches Grace, because before this, right before all of this happened, Grace's body was actually being taken over. She woke up in the middle of her bed covered in blood and had no idea what happened. Apparently, the character Cole was found in the infirmary due to lost amount of blood.
This is the werewolf. Cole is the werewolf alpha in this school, by the way. So
no one liked Cole. He was a douche in the first book.
Yeah, he was. Somehow she ended up like
covered in blood.
Almost draining him.
Yeah.
And then there's a witch artifact that goes missing from the library as well, and it turns out it was Grace.
Yep.
So she's being body snatched by
Yeah.
Hudson at this point.
Body snatched by Hudson, but apparently Hudson was working on a plan because he was snatching and stealing things for a reason.
Yeah, we all just think at this point that Hudson's just being evil.
Yeah.
Evil little Hudson. But then the blood letter tells us that, like, they need 4 items. One being a witch artifact,
a wolf
a tooth from a canine tooth from an alpha werewolf.
Yep.
And then there's a bloodstone from a vampire.
And a dragon bone.
And then a dragon bone. And these are the 4 items that would just get Hudson out of her head.
Yes.
But as we've all said, everyone is terrified of Hudson.
Yep.
And he's too powerful.
And they want to remove his powers.
So they want to strip him of his powers and make him human before they get him out of Grace's head, which requires a heartstone.
Yeah, which is with the unkillable beast, and the unkillable beast is protecting the heartstone.
So that's like the main plot, like you said, is we're trying to get these items to get Hudson out of her head and human.
Yep. And the blood letter said that they didn't need to worry about the vampire stone or whatever. What was that one called? The bloodstone. They didn't have to worry about the bloodstone because she would find a way for them to get it. Which turns out the school, Cadamere, has a traditional game each year, which
the Ladaris.
Yeah, I was gonna let you pronounce that because I know I was gonna mispronounce it. Well, I'm not gonna attempt to because it's gonna be worse. So they do this game every year, which we can describe. Do you want to describe the game a little?
So I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Quidditch almost.
It is. It's very similar to Harry Potter.
There's no brooms or anything. No. But there is like. So, I guess another thing we should say is the entire book takes place in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks.
It's very fast paced, so we're gonna jump around. You need to read the book to get all the details. We're not going to ever be able to encompass everything she did.
They have like 3 quests going on in this book.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get Hudson out of her head, and they do that. They got to go and get
a
bunch of things.
Yeah, they have to get the heartstone, the bloodstone, the dragon bone. Which, in order to what they did, they got the dragon bone, the bloodstone, the heartstone.
Yes. So while they are, formulating plans to get the items they need, they're also training for the Ladaris tournament.
Yes.
Which Grace and her friends, I think I wrote down our entire friend group on here.
Yes. Macy, Jackson, Mecky, Eden, Flint, Xavier, Gwen, and Hudson.
Yeah, and so a few of these characters we did talk about in the last one. The new ones that we have been introduced to, Eden is another dragon.
Yes.
Xavier is a wolf that is kind of interested in Macy. And then Gwen is one of Macy's witch friends.
Yes.
So we have a couple extra new characters.
3.
That are in this. And so they're all training for this tournament because they want to win. And then this is where we get the catch here for the tournament and why it makes it so vital to the story.
Yeah.
Is the prize for winning this year's tournament is a bloodstone.
Which is rare. Normally it's just a trophy and bragging rights.
Yeah.
But this year...
Pause.
Tell them we're almost done.
Hello? Where's Bubby's what? In a giant box on the couch? No, they're his size, babe. They're a big box on the couch. They're open. Love you, bye.
Alright, almost done. Ladaris game.
Yeah, and this is not even just a normal bloodstone either. It's one from
Hudson himself.
Yeah, it's Hudson's bloodstone.
Yep, we love that.
One from the Royal Vampire Court. The king and queen vampires themselves.
What is it? Not the circle. Is it the circle?
The circle is like the leading group.
Yep.
So there's a king and queen from each court. So there's the dragon court,
which is Flint's parents.
Which we find out is Flint's parents. And then there's the vampire court,
which is Hudson and Jackson's parents.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the witches, I think.
Which we don't know who they are.
We don't really. They're touched on a little bit, but not really.
And so neither are the wolves.
And then the wolves, yeah.
But there's 4.
Yeah, so that's the groups.
And obviously, the circle came down at one point for the Ladaris games.
They came down for the tournament.
Yeah.
And also
to introduce the Bloodstone too.
Yeah. So King Cyrus, and Queen Delilah.
Yeah.
These are going to be recurring names. I think for a lot of the books. But that is Hudson and Jackson's parents, the Vampire King and Queen. They are, holy cow.
Yeah.
We talk about their impressions. So
Cyrus is not fun. Like, they were.
no,
We'll talk about him in a second. We want to talk about Ladoris game.
Ladoris tournament. So
Yep.
they come down to do that, and well, I don't know. I think that's.
Well, I was gonna say what they're training for is basically it's a hot potato game, very similar to Quidditch,
Yeah,
where you're
what
having
we were getting at.
to pass the ball back and forth. So the longer you hold the ball, the more it vibrates aggressively, and the more it burns.
So they said that like typically you get about 30 seconds of holding the ball before you have to pass it off to someone else.
Yes.
And every player on the team, which I think there's 7.
Yeah, there's a
8,
lot.
Right? Is it 7 or 8?
There's only 2, 4. It's the whole group. 2, 4, 6, 8.
Yeah. So, 8 players on each team, and the ball has to be touched by every single player for you to win, for your team to win.
Yeah, there's 8 because I counted Hudson as Grace, and Grace is Hudson. So 8 players. Every single player has to touch the ball, and same for the other team. Every player has to touch the ball and then get it across the goal point for the team to win the game.
Yeah.
Now there's multiple matches. It goes against each group, but they're practicing.
There's portals in this. Like this is an intense game too. Like Grace's mind is blown from it, and like I can also say mine was too. Because holy cow, it was fast and intense, like Quidditch on steroids.
Yeah, portals that take you to different ends. If you go through the right portal, you could be on the winning goal, or on the. If you go through the portal, you could be on the other side of the map, and then they could win.
Yeah.
Now, it goes back and forth, but there's also the rule of magic, because all of these are magical creatures.
Yes.
They had a limit to how much magic they could use. So I think it was 10 seconds for any witch magic or any boost of speed, and then 20 seconds for flight.
I think was it 20 seconds or 30 seconds?
I think it was 20 seconds. Because I think it was 20 seconds for flight, 10 seconds for magic, and then 30 seconds for...
Reset. Right?
It was like reset was 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds also for ball holding.
Yeah. There was lots of
technicals, but this is what they were training for the entire time. While they were training for this, I think the day before they were training, they did the dragon bone situation.
It was the day before they went, before they competed.
Yeah, the day before they competed, they were doing the dragon bone, which Flint and Eden obviously figured out where it was. They went
dragon
down.
Boneyard.
Yeah, and all of the time, while they're dealing with all of these crazy, crazy things that are happening, because they also have to deal with the unkillable beast at some point, Hudson and Grace's relationship is growing. The banter between them two is amazing, and that's problematic because she's supposed to be with Jackson, and her banter with Hudson is too good to also supposed to be with Jackson.
And as Grace is, she's the only one that can hear Hudson.
Yeah.
And she's kind of starting to see, like, you know, he's not what everyone thinks he is, and she does start to like stick up for him a little bit more in their like friend group, and she's like, you know, he's like, you know, I don't think this is right. And then Grace is also, which I just found this out today in my reading, so I won't say anything about it because I'm a little further along. But Grace in herself is, she has this like ethics, like this morality question within her about stripping Hudson of his power.
And I agree. I think that's fair.
I think too. Like they're playing God over his life. Of like
they already played God, bringing him back, and now they're trying to play God again to strip of him of who he is.
Leah played God, bringing him back. None of them were involved in that. But yeah, now they're deciding that he's too powerful, he's too evil, so we're going to strip him of his entire identity. And I mean, the way Grace posed it in her own mind, like really put it in perspective of like, you know, this is the only thing he's ever known, and just throw him into a world that he would not be comfortable with, and like his entire identity being gone,
is crazy.
Like that's deep
and
like,
dangerous.
How do they get to make that decision? But so she's struggling with this of like, you know, I don't think we should do this. It's not right, and I also don't think like, you know, he deserves it.
Yeah.
Which everyone else is like, no, he deserves it.
Yeah,
he's
all
too
like,
powerful to be trusted.
He's not worth
evil.
it. Right.
And Jackson is like the number one supporter on this idea of like, don't trust Hudson. And
no matter what.
As this is happening and Grace is starting to trust Hudson more, Grace and Jackson's relationship is really rocky throughout
and really bad.
Because Jackson is kind of being controlling, and, you know, he's like...
he's trying to protect her.
He's trying to protect her, you know, um, Grace doesn't want to be protected. She's very much adamant on we need to stick up for each other.
Yeah.
Like, I'm beside you, not behind you.
She's like fighting for a partnership with her mate instead of being beneath and hidden.
I'm going to keep referencing Akatar with this.
I know.
This is a, like,
Tamlin move.
A Tamlin, but Jackson is not, like, a complete dickhead like Tamlin was.
No.
Sorry.
Jackson, hold on. We're going to pause for just a second. I gotta check something. I want to make sure we're still recording. I know we are, but I just want to...
We've been scarred too many times. Did it stop recording?
No, we're good.
Oh.
It was going. It's at 40 minutes, which seems about right. I just need to... It's saying something that I have not enough storage to continue a new video. I have to delete some past videos to continue recording. Hold on. Which this is why I've been uploading them to OneDrive. I just had a feeling.
It's better that we figured it out now than, like, when we're done.
I have all of them saved on. Even if it cut out at a certain point, I'll just do a hey video cut out and then bring it back when it brings back if it did cut out.
Okay.
If it does at any given point. I'm not gonna make us refilm it. We have the audio and it's a podcast.
I didn't realize, like, how back and forth this was gonna be. Because it all happens at, like, the same time. It's hard to, like, talk about it chronologically.
Yeah, there's no chronological. That's why.
No chronological with this.
Everybody needs to watch.
Like, you just gotta read it before this makes sense.
We're back. Good morning. Glad I had a feeling. Alright, we're backing up and running. Sorry, had a feeling that our video cut out, and I don't think it did, but in case it did, I had a feeling, so I went and checked.
We got it covered.
We fixed the issue, so we don't have to re-record anything, because we don't like doing that, because I feel like it takes away the natural feeling of the conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so we were talking about everything being so fast-paced, everything going from different places, because not only in this whole book are we jumping from situation after situation after situation, we're also doing constant conversation. Imagine having someone in your head 24/7 talking to you.
So Grace is constantly talking to Hudson, and she finds it very hard to just ignore him.
Yep.
Because he knows how to push, like, all of her buttons to the point that she can't.
Yep.
Which leads into, like, we were talking about problems with Jackson and Grace.
Yes.
This is a big problem, is that Grace cannot be 100%
with Jackson at any given moment.
Can't stand it, I don't think.
No.
Like, he does a pretty good job of trying to be understanding, but this is, like, the brother that he killed, so, you know.
Yeah, it's problematic.
It's really bothering him.
Well, not only, imagine having your significant other with someone that you killed, who is who you know is dangerous to your perception, that is stuck in their head, who also you know is handsome as heck because he was your brother. And I know you, I can say siblings don't notice that other siblings are attractive, and that's bullshit. Just saying it. Bullshinaki.
Yeah, you can
admit that your significant other is like your sibling is attractive.
You can admit them that they're attractive without it being weird. It's not that you're like, I'm attracted to them, but like,
No, they're just attractive people. Like, my sister is gorgeous, my brother is handsome. I don't think that's weird to say.
No, it's not. I don't think
But,
so.
like, obviously Jackson had to know, and that his girlfriend, who is not related to either of them, has a very attractive, cunning, and what's the word that I want to use? Um, manipulative person in his perception stuck in her head. So this is like a Ted Bundy situation to Jackson, where he's attractive, he's cunning, he's charming.
Yeah.
He's
manipulative is the big word I think with Jackson in relation to Hudson. And a power of Hudson that we haven't touched on is manipulation. Hudson can manipulate he can make people do what he wants them to do, which is a big thing with Jackson. Is like, this power is too untrustworthy.
Yeah,
he can't do this. He can't be allowed to have this. And so Jackson and Grace are really struggling. They're on the rocks. Jackson wants to still protect her because in his mind she's still a defenseless human girl that it's his job to protect. But Grace is fighting back on this because she's a gargoyle now that has all these cool powers, and that people are rightfully afraid of, because she is, holy cow,
she has a lot of powers.
Miss Grace,
which we haven't even talked about, but this is a great segue into, because there's so much happening in this book. She's also learning about her powers, her abilities, and her ability to do things. She's gone to the library, she's tried studying, some stuff happened while she was trying to study.
A lot of it, I think, is just hands-on, like trial and error. Yeah, a lot of hands-on.
Flying, training with Flint. There's a lot of cool dragon scenes in this book that you definitely should read. But she is learning about all of her powers. We have flight. She has horns.
She can channel magic.
Channeling magic. She's immune to magic, so dragons and witches can't use magic on her. She's immune to a vampire bite if she is in gargoyle form.
And werewolf bites too.
Yeah, as well as werewolf bites in gargoyle form. She has the ability to heal. She has the ability to, what is the other one? Turn others into stone. Like, there's so many things
in the Ladaris tournament, which was a
freaking cool way to find out too.
It was awesome.
Which definitely read, but she did some crazy stuff and impressed a lot of people in those games.
Grace really starts to grow as a character in this book. Like, I know I had mentioned before that, like, she wasn't, like, I don't know. I respected her in the first book, but now looking back, like, she was a little wallowing, I think, in the first book. But also I think Jackson was too. But she's really coming into herself in this book. And her powers and, like, you know, finding herself again after the grief and trauma that she's been through with losing her parents and moving and all of this. She's really starting to come out on the other side. And a lot of it is also coming out from Hudson pushing her.
Oh yeah, Hudson's helping her.
She's starting to get a backbone. And she does not let these men push her around anymore.
No, which we need. We love that. So, with all of this happening, again, please go read the book. There's no way we could touch everything in this book. Well, not only a little jumpy, but we can't describe everything because Tracy's an amazing writer to put everything into words.
We are definitely not doing this justice.
No, we're just doing what we feel from the book, and I think that's important because, like, there's so much happening and it's all so fast paced, but it's an amazing book, and I was captivated the entire time.
Oh yeah, same. It kept me on the edge of my seat. The pacing in this book was incredible.
Yeah.
From a writer's standpoint, it is incredible. Like, I can't think of any other words. It's just
is very well done.
Very, very well done. Like I said, the fact that this all takes the span of like 2 weeks and all of this is happening.
Yeah, it's very, very fast paced. So we have talked about a lot of the things that are going on, a lot of the romantic tension between Grace and Jackson not being able to have their relationship because Hudson's obviously saying, "Hey, don't mess with my brother."
Yeah, so Grace feels uncomfortable, so she can't do anything. She can't be with
Jackson, and that's creating a rift in their relationship because Jackson wants to be with her, but he can't because his brother's in her head. And then we have Hudson, who's bantering with Grace, who has this history with her, but she doesn't remember it, and he's telling her all of these memories, all of these things, and he wants to be with her. But then we have all of the situations. So we have the dragon bone situation where the entire group has to go get the dragon bone, and all of her friends, oh my gosh, are amazing. Found family into immediate words.
This friend group like really grew on me so much.
And you get connected with so many characters. Xavier with Macy, they have a possible relationship, and he's a goofball.
Yeah.
You have Flint, who's always been there, who's like, hey guys, we're going to do this, we're going to get Hudson out of his head. They're all willing to die to get Hudson out of her head because they think it's something worth dying for to save everybody.
Yeah, this is a big lead-in,
Yeah.
I feel like, because we do have a point on here for the unkillable beast.
We can't talk about that yet. We got to talk about the Dragon Bone.
Okay, we can talk about the Dragon Bone. What are we going to talk about the Dragon Bone? Because
not much happens
in there.
But, like, they go down, they go through all of the tunnels, they get into a Dragon Bone situation, which they have to go to this boneyard that's apparently utterly terrifying and deadly, and no one comes back from.
People do not come back from this alive.
Which is surprising, because I'm not going to lie, with what happened down there, I was like,
I was a little underwhelmed, too.
I was a little underwhelmed with the Dragon Bone one.
But I think we'll be... So, when we get there, and they've all searching, like, this is a solemn place. This is the resting place for every dragon in existence. When they die, they come here. Yep. They don't get, like, a gravesite or remains of their loved ones. No matter how they die, where they die, the dragons come here.
Yep.
So it's massive, and we really, like, see the size of dragons.
Yes.
In this, and the fact that, like...
They're huge.
Yeah, like, they are worried that they're not going to be able to get a bone out because they're so big.
Not only did it have to be a dragon bone, it had to be a intact, fully intact dragon bone.
And so, when they're there, like, all these bones are broken and shattered, which is kind of weird.
Kind of
weird if they just magic in.
Yeah.
How are they broken? But as soon as they find one, Hudson and Grace find an arm bone or something, I think. And as soon as they find one, that's when disaster strikes, and we really see, I think, the true danger of the dragon graveyard.
Which, out of all the things they did, is the least dangerous.
It is the least dangerous.
But everything starts to, like, shake, everything starts to come back, and then I think Flint was the one who said, someone's coming to rest, a dragon must have died.
Yeah, and
bones just falling.
Like, the dragon skeleton is falling through the ceiling into this cavern.
And I don't think it's intact. I think it's just pieces of bones are just falling into the cavern. So when these dragons die, they just magically, their skeletons appear and they break apart and they fall into this cavern, which I think is just so intriguing.
Yeah, and
of a situation for a graveyard, but
like sad.
It's so sad because Eden, who's also the dragon of Flint, also just had Eden was crying.
Yeah, Eden and Flint both do. And when talking about Flint, like, I really felt for him in this scene because we know that Flint lost his older brother due to Hudson.
Yep.
Like, Hudson is the one that killed his older brother. And now he's in this
to
resting
our perception
place.
Currently.
Well, he did kill him.
Yeah.
To Flint, we don't know why, but other than just being evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, his brother is here. And like I couldn't get past that, like, this scene, like, thinking, like, Flint must be looking around, like, wondering
which
one is my brother.
Yep.
Oh,
and that sucks. It's so sad. So after the Dragon Bone, that's when we go into the games. And
yeah, immediately the next day, they're beaten and battered and worn down from the dragon graveyard.
Yep.
And
during all this, again, Hudson's there the whole time, and including when she's taking showers, he's there. Mm-hmm. He's always present.
They had an agreement, though. Hudson isn't. You're making him sound like a perv.
No, I'm just saying he was always there. If he was sleeping, he was
there.
sleeping. Like, if she was sleeping, he was in his pajamas, laying on the floor next to her with a hot pink pillow.
Yeah,
that was the scene. If she was taking a shower, he was not watching. Obviously,
somehow
he's not a perv.
They worked it out. He was like, somehow, like, Hudson had a little free reign in her.
Yeah, I feel like he just went to her memories.
He went somewhere where he was not, like, looking through her eyes at that point. So he
didn't want to be gross. He respected her.
Yeah, good.
He's very respectful.
Good gentleman right there.
Not the underwear scene, though.
Hudson. No, that was a rakish gentleman move.
That was too flirtatious.
Yeah,
for a friendship in my mind. You can't have a favorite pair of panties. If you're friends with a girl, you cannot say I have a favorite pair of panties. It doesn't work.
No, but I think, touching on that, at this point, I think it's okay to say, I think at this point in the book, Hudson has said enough and done enough that it leads to think that more than friendship had been established between Grace and Hudson in the 4 months.
Yeah.
And there's a line I have actually marked down pretty early on in the book.
Very early on.
Wait until I turn to it, and I'll tell you guys what page. It's page 193. So first 200 pages of the book.
Yeah.
This is where I marked this. And Hudson is talking about who is he talking about? Flint and Jackson, I think, is where he's talking. He's talking about them. And he's talking about their brawn and them being like brashly stupid. Because Hudson likes to diss on his younger brother a lot.
Oh yeah, Jaxie Waxie is his
Jaxie
favorite
Waxie.
nickname for
And
Jackson.
He does not like Flint very much
No.
either. But Grace says something, and she says, "You're just jealous because you don't have any brawn at the moment." And the next line is what I highlighted. Hudson says, "Yeah, that's what I'm jealous of." And I was like, oh, there's a relationship history here. Like, he's jealous of Grace's relationship with Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And it really makes sense, the fact that he won't let them kiss. He, like, is always present when they're being together. Hudson and Grace had a chemistry at some point.
At this point, I had a feeling that they had a relationship.
I did too. Like, that was my first indication that they did.
In their like, ghost whatever land.
Yeah,
I was like, were they just
separate plane,
separated from everyone? So was her mating bond like cut off, and that she didn't feel those feelings for Jackson when they were in that plane? That was a thought that I had.
Spoiler warning. Yeah. This is going to be a jumpy to the very end.
Why are you jumping to the end?
Well, it doesn't really spoil anything about what we're going to talk about, but this point exactly.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, Hudson talks about it, and her mating bond with Jackson was not there. Like, it was null and void.
Null and void. Yeah. Because when I thought, like, I didn't think that was the point. Because he couldn't feel it. So when he got back, he could feel the mating bond between him,
Jackson and Grace.
Jackson and Grace, and it probably shocked him on top of everything. Mm-hmm. Which we also know, during all of this, another topic that we didn't hit is that Hudson's been feeding off of Jackson and Grace's mating bond, so he can stay alive.
We didn't know this until, like, mid to the end of the book.
Yeah, mid to the end of the book.
And Jackson's like pallor throughout the book. Like, he is weak, he's drained, and
you find out why.
Grace chalks it up to just stress, which kind of part of it is. But also, it's Hudson feeding off of their bond, and mostly feeding off Jackson.
Because he has more power than Grace.
Yeah, Grace flips out on Hudson at this, of like, how dare you, like, hurt Jackson, like, feed for me. And he's like, I'm not doing it, like,
because
consciously.
I want to. Yeah.
He's like, Jackson just has more power to feed off of.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it still sucks.
It's a sucky situation. But to the point where we are getting farther into all of this, when we go back to the circle with Cyrus and Delilah, Cyrus wants to see the gargoyle.
Yeah.
This is before the unkillable beast.
Yeah.
And
this is...
I think it was before the...
It was before the Lodaris tournament.
Before the tournament as well.
Yeah.
Where
like, right before. I think. When they came down to see everybody, they held, like, a big assembly. It was before it, I know.
Is that when she challenged, though?
No.
When did they...
That
was at the acceptance of the Heartstone.
Yes. That is after the tournament.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's what I was bringing up. But
that's what you were bringing up? I thought you were bringing up the fact that Hudson freaked out in the assembly whenever... Because the Vampire King and Queen are really wanting to meet Grace, and not for good reasons. She gets... the impressions of them that these are very evil people.
Another backstory for Cyrus is he killed all of the gargoyles back in the day when they existed. He killed all of them. So Hudson is screaming at Grace, hey, don't go into that assembly. You don't need to be around him. Hey, seriously, he killed all of you. What do you think's going to stop him from killing you now? You're just a mean little girl, like a small little girl.
And some of it, I think, isn't even about the fact that he killed all the gargoyles. Yeah. He doesn't want Grace specifically around his father, because he has been traumatized by his father, right? And Jackson was traumatized by their mother. Grace even points this out, like, both of the brothers have trauma from different parents.
Yes.
So both of them suck.
We love that.
But, so and even Jackson doesn't want her around them. So we get the they're not to be trusted.
And Cyrus does call her out at this assembly. When everyone's leaving, she goes, and Grace, we're so excited to have you. We would really love you to come up the stage.
Yeah.
And she walks away. They have eye contact, though. There's a moment of eye contact between the two of them.
And where he realizes that she's defying him.
Yeah.
And it's a moment of, like, not anger that she thought it would be, more of, like, interest or in a challenge. So She has their interest and not in a good way.
Yep. And during the Ladaris games, they have the same intrigue with watching Grace and seeing all of the great things she's doing. I don't think we can do the Ladaris games justice by describing them, so I don't want to. I say you need to read it.
Read it.
It's very well done.
A lot of stuff happens. And in the last game, they end up winning the tournament.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to get the Bloodstone, which is good.
It's what they need. They need 4 of the items. Now they have 3 because they already had the witch and they already had the wolf's tooth from Hudson because that's what the beginning part was about. And now they have the Bloodstone, so now they just need...
They have all
the
4 items.
4 items, yeah.
They have all 4 items at this point after they win the tournament.
Yep.
However, they need the 5th.
To get Hudson back to human.
To get Hudson back to human. And so they're going to this unkillable beast, which no one has ever lived through through challenging. No one has ever come back. There's a bunch of very vague and mismatched descriptions of it because there's no one has really lived to see through this. And so we finally reach this. This is right after the tournament too, that they're going to the unkillable beast.
They haven't gone to the unkillable beast yet.
No, that's where we're getting to, right?
Yeah.
The tournament's ended. And now we're jumping straight into the unkillable beast.
Yep. So everything's
no rest for this group of friends.
So after the Ladaris games, before the unkillable beast, they are going to, as an assembly, to accept the stone. At the assembly, when they're accepting the Heartstone, the entire friend group walks onto stage. Grace is hiding behind Jackson, and Jackson is pushing her behind him because ain't nobody wanting to see Cyrus. Ain't nobody wants her to see Cyrus because Cyrus is dangerous.
Yeah.
At this assembly, when they give over the Bloodstone, they tell everyone that they think it's in the best interest, and the circle agrees that Grace has to come back to the vampire kingdom, or vampire cave. Or
the court.
The court. The vampire court.
They say they're taking her back to let her grow under her powers, under their protection.
Because we all saw during the Ladaris game, she wasn't 100% capable of taking care of herself.
Yeah, that's what they pointed out, is that she was still depending on everybody else too much, and that she needed time to grow, which everyone on the circle knows is a bunch of freaking BS, because everyone knows what Cyrus did to the gargoyles. Yep. Everyone knows what this means for Grace.
Yep, and he was the deciding vote to have her go back to the vote.
So it's all kind of rigged against her.
Yep.
And Hudson is freaking the frick out.
So is Jackson. Jackson's
Jackson.
No, you're not. And he goes, you better be quiet. Cyrus is like, you better be quiet.
Jackson starts to challenge his dad. Yeah.
But then Grace does something crazy because of Hudson.
Hudson steps in and says, challenge him. What is it? What is the word he uses? Challenge him to inclusion?
Yeah, challenge to inclusion.
And so this, we find out, Grace just blurts it out, right? She trusts, this really shows how much Grace has decided to start trusting Hudson. Because she doesn't question him on this.
Well, she told Jackson that Hudson had an idea.
Yeah, she does. That's how she gets Jackson to step down and not get his head bit off by his dad in front of everyone.
We hate their parents.
Yes. So, so she challenges for inclusion. And everyone is, struck by this, right? Grace doesn't know what she just did, and so she's telling Hudson to explain. And basically... Grace has challenged Cyrus for a spot on the circle because she's a gargoyle and she needs to represent her race, her species.
Yeah, and there's a representation for everyone else, but not her.
Not her. Because he killed them all.
Yeah.
So doing this is direct defilement against Cyrus, and we all know this. So everyone is there's so much tension
in the room
between this. Everyone knows what's happening, and that she is defying.
But there was no other option. What is she going to go be in a dungeon for the rest of her life, or just get killed?
Yeah. So this is the only way Grace is not, about to be tortured or killed.
And luckily, in the challenge of the trial, we learned this in Crave, I think, too. It's mentioned lightly.
For a seat on the circle, you have to do
the trial.
The trial, which Jairus was based off of.
Yep.
But it's a no-holds way of playing it.
Yeah. And it's also, you have to play it by yourself against 8 warriors.
You can play You can do with your mate.
Yeah, with one exception is you have to play with yourself, with one exception of playing with your mate. And of course, Jackson steps up and says he's going to play with her.
He says he's going to play with her. And so this is a point we kind of touched on, but not really. The pairs in the circle.
Yeah.
They're all mated pairs. Yes. So every ruling leader in the circle is a mate.
Yes.
Because it is heavily touched on that this is impossible to do without
a mate.
Without help. It's meant to be impossible.
Because how are you supposed to carry a ball that's shaking aggressively and burning you alive
by yourself?
By yourself for the entire game.
And also, like, your powers. Like, it's meant to be impossible for one person to do. And so Jackson and Grace are now going to do this.
Yep.
But we have to survive the unkillable beast first.
Yep.
Which they still have to do, like, what, that night or something?
Yeah, this is happening that night. So they challenge and they say you have, like, a day?
No,
or 2 days.
They have to do it, like, yeah, and they have to be there at dawn or something.
Yep. At, like, 8 a.m. in the morning, right at dawn. So there's so many things that happen so quickly. So now we're on to the unkillable beast. Now, Xavier comes into the room, into Jackson's tower, and is telling everyone, hey, it's blocked off everywhere. We can't get out.
Yeah, since Grace and Jackson challenged, Cyrus had the watch and their guards, like, everywhere, locked down. There's no exit out of the castle because they don't want Grace and Jackson running off,
Yeah.
What is the chickening out of it?
Yeah.
There's no
They thought
out.
they would run away and they would not actually fight it, which I know Grace, I know Jackson. Neither of them are going to run because
we're going to do that.
Both of them are smart enough to know there's no running from his parents.
But they still needed to get out of the castle.
Because they had to kill the unkillable beast because there's no way they were going to win the trial
with Hudson in her head.
Hudson draining Jackson and her of their powers. Yeah. So they needed to be at full level. Now
so they had to get him out. Like they have a deadline now.
Yeah, and this goes back to what you were talking about earlier where Grace was saying, "Hey guys, we should not do this. Let's not play this role. Yeah. We need to let's just use the 4, then we have 2 days to be full max and we can get him out that way."
Yeah, Grace is having second thoughts about the unkillable beast because she and Jackson have to be there at their best and alive.
And another thing that hurts me knowing what happens with the unkillable beast is also the fact that if they had done this, everything that happened after wouldn't have happened, and they wouldn't be where they are situated in the 3rd book.
So we'll touch on that in a minute when we
Literally
talk about this, because this next part is going to be, if you have made it this far and like, oh, I don't care about the spoilers. No, you care about this one.
Yeah, it's bad.
This is a heavy, heavy spoiler that we're about to talk, because it's impossible to not talk about it.
Yep.
For throughout the rest of the book. So Grace and Hudson is begging her, like, do not go. This is not worth it. Like, just, you have the items. Just let me out.
Yeah.
You have everything you need. And Grace is like, yeah, you're right.
You're right.
And she doesn't agree with stripping him of his powers. So she pitches the idea to the group.
And they all dead face her and say, absolutely
Everyone
not.
says no. And especially Jackson. Jackson is like, Hudson's been in your head too long. He's manipulated you.
Yeah, he's not even taking her opinion at all. Just
not
discarding it. And he goes, I
can
give you anything in the world, but not this. And I'm like, Tamlin line. Out the door.
I mean, we have to remember Jackson's relationship and history with his brother. And to him, it's a justified reason to not want this.
Yeah.
Wrong way of going about it. So Jackson and the others are dead set on this. They have to go. And everyone, like you said earlier, is willing to lay down their lives for this mission,
my feelings,
this quest.
Oh my god.
And everyone has said this. So, we're about to get into some really heavy emotional stuff in this book.
So
where
sad.
This is where everything, like, crap hits the fan here.
Yeah.
And, so like you were saying, we have to sneak out and leave.
Yeah.
But they get caught. And disaster
Before they get
starts
caught,
happening.
I just want to highlight this moment in the caves. They were going to Macy's hidden witch place, and they were walking through this tunnel, and there was a sticker on the wall, but no one saw it yet. And during all of this, Xavier and Macy's relationship is growing. They're really cutesy. They're adorable. Xavier licks Macy on the cheek, and everyone just starts like staring at him and like, ah. And he goes, "I was just doing what the sticker says, lick a witch."
Yeah.
And everyone just starts busting out laughing. It's
He does it to,
adorable.
yeah, he does it to like release the tension because everybody is so high strung.
High strung because they just challenged the king, the queen, the entire circle,
and they're about to go fight an unkillable beast, which no one has ever like made it out alive from.
And it's just, there's so much going on. He's being so cute, and he's doing everything he can to make it lighthearted because he was the lighthearted. He was the.
Tracy has done a really good job of writing the friends in this to make them to where you love them.
Yeah, Eden loved her.
Yeah.
Just everyone. Gwen, she was MIA after the Doris games because she got so injured.
Yeah, she had like a broken arm.
Yeah, she didn't go to the Unkillable Beast. It was just the 6 of them, and they were really using Meki for a lot of it too.
Meki is out of commission too.
Not yet.
Not yet, but he is before this. That's where we were getting to. But yeah, the Lick a Witch scene.
I just wanted to bring that up.
It was very sweet. I had forgotten about that. Oh.
Yeah, you wanted to forget about that, but I won't let you. So now we get outside, and everything goes to hell.
Yeah, they get ambushed by the Watch, which is like the guards.
Like the Cyrus's version of the Order, but it's like an army.
Yeah, it's basically his military.
Yeah.
Which they call the Watch. And so they're ambushed. And Jackson, is like giving him the ultimatum. Wait, we really see Jackson and like his influence and power and how scared of everybody is? Because even these grown adults that are like in military get up
terrified,
are hesitant to cross Jackson.
Yep. So during this time, while they're having this face-off, Hudson is screaming at Grace to transform into her gargoyle form because she's too vulnerable as a human.
Hudson knows things are about to get like.
Hudson knew what was about to happen, so all hell breaks loose, and the Watch starts to fight. Flint's hiding Grace. Everyone's going everywhere, but someone lunged at Meki, and someone.
Yeah, they said that they don't really know what happened to because they were at a standstill before this, and then like whether it was Flint subtly shifting Grace behind him, whether it was like a snap of twigs or something happened, and a wolf like launches at Meki.
Yep.
Ouch.
I love Meki, so my heart during this was not okay.
I wasn't either. I was terrified for him. I thought this was our first death.
I did too.
Because he gets his throat ripped out, essentially.
Yeah. And he just drops to his knees. Yeah. And again, I love Meki so much.
Same. He's one of my favorites.
He's such a good character.
Outside of our mains, I think he's like my favorite side character.
Yeah, he is definitely my favorite side character. And I think I don't know what my main favorite character is. Like, I love Jackson, but Jackson, I think it would be Flint. I really like Flint.
Yeah.
I like Flint and Hudson.
Mine's
Who is yours? Hudson?
I don't know, okay? It's Hudson or Jackson.
Of course.
This is, so when we originally said, and I described this as like the Vampire Diaries, I meant it as like a Stefan and Damon kind of situation where Stefan hates Damon.
But you always pick Damon, and if you pick Stefan, then you are not okay. Something's wrong.
Okay,
if you pick Stefan
had a downfall.
Good relationship is.
He had downfall. This is where I'm saying like these parallels are coming in, because he started out perfect, and then he started like slowly declining into not such a great character. I love Jackson.
I think we have a different type because
I love Jackson.
Stefan was never good for me. Jackson was great, but he's not a.
I love him so much, but he's not my favorite. But I want everything good for him because my heart hurts.
You wish him the best, but
he's my tortured. I have a soft spot for tortured lost souls. Okay, maybe call it like the Pisces in me. I don't know what you want to say, but like these people, I'm just like I definitely have the I can fix him vibe.
This is why you chose my brother. Real. I'm joking.
No,
but
he's great. He's literally the least problematic guy I've ever been with.
Ryan?
Yes.
Yeah,
my ex is a shining example of the I can fix him.
Yeah,
vibe.
Ryan's very chill. We like Ryan. He's like the most laid back guy in the world. He's very laid back.
My husband's great. I'm very lucky. I had the I can fix it vibe and then went the opposite direction.
I don't know. I'm vibing with Flint. I like the aggressive fire breather.
I am stuck between the two brothers.
I'm a Flint or a Hudson.
I love both Jackson and Hudson. And
least now favorite character is Cole.
Yeah, or Cyrus.
And you guys can find that out if you read the books.
He's an a-hole.
Cole was an a-hole for no reason.
Also, well, Can I just mention Macy's ex? Like,
Cam?
Cole doesn't have like much of a reason to like care about Grace
Like-
ever. Like there are slights to him like all
Yeah.
throughout the book where Cole is like, "Yeah, I hate you. I'm out for blood." Macy's ex was like always fake
Yes.
towards Grace, and then like the okay, so
You're jumping way
I
off.
am jumping way off. We'll get there. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, they're attacked, and Meki is like dying.
Yeah. So Meki's like dying. Meki's dying currently.
It's not like dying. He is dying.
He is dying.
He's bleeding out.
But luckily, Hudson teaches Grace how to use her healing powers on Meki. She gets him stable and uses stone to basically cauterize the wound.
She
But
breaks off a
Meki
piece
is
of
no
herself.
longer in commission and has to get sent to the infirmary, and he has to, what is the word? When they vaporize.
Fade?
Yeah, when he fade. Which also, we didn't mention this earlier, but how Hudson got stuck in Grace was because he was fading when she turned to stone. But not as important.
Yeah.
But Maggie has to fade back to the nurse's office. And due to this, their whole plan is kind of cut off wire because Meki's power was to hypnotize.
Yeah.
And now they don't have that.
He was planning on hypnotizing the unkillable beast.
Which would have worked great if
it wouldn't have even.
If the situation wasn't the fighting of the unkillable beast.
It wouldn't have worked anyway.
So that is now we're out Meki, we're out Gwen. So now we have Macy, Jackson, Eden, Flint, Xavier, and Grace. We have 6. We're down to 6 going to kill the unkillable beast.
Yeah, and so,
which is a 4-hour flight. Which
they get there riding on the backs of the dragons, and so Eden and Flint are already kind of worn down by this because they flew everybody there. Yeah,
and they're at this like island location.
They're at the North Pole.
Yeah,
is where they're at. Some island.
But it's a magic island.
It's
that's
magic.
Like tropic.
It's not freezing. It's
like tropical. Yeah.
And so they get into the cave, and I think after they kind of formulate a plan, Flint and Eden are like waiting in ambush. Macy is prepared as well with like a lightning spell. No, she's prepared with some kind of like stun spell.
It's all happening again so fast.
And then Jackson,
Xavier, and
Grace go in as bait.
Yes. Which also at the beginning of this, when the dragons were flying around, they were asking, well, if this unkillable beast is so huge, why can we not see it?
Yeah,
and they couldn't see it.
They were flying around trying to get a scope of it, and they can't find it because it's supposed to be like 50 stories tall or something.
It's supposed to be huge.
So they don't find anything, and then they find this cave right next to this waterfall. It's behind the waterfall.
Yeah.
And so they're like, this must be the lair. Because if I were to be stuck here, this is where I would be.
Well, it is because of the water. If I was stuck on an island, I would want to be stuck near water.
Yeah. And so they all set up like ambushes as they kind of make this like last minute plan. Because
their other plan was thrown out the window. We're on like plan D now in all of this craziness.
Yeah.
So within plan D, we have Meki, Grace, and Jackson just walking up to this cave where they start to hear chains rattling.
Yeah, and immediately when Grace is going in, she has what she thinks is her gargoyle saying, no, get out.
Yeah, like leave, don't come in.
Leave, don't go. And so she's battling not only
Hudson.
her thoughts, Hudson in her brain, and now her gargoyle is screaming at her to get out and to leave. And so, like, Grace is, already, like, shoot. This is a whole
Everything's
bunch for her.
happening so quickly, and this is a big, big spoiler about the unkillable beast. So they start fighting this beast. It's huge. It's 50 stories. The dragons look like flies.
Shackled to the wall.
Yeah, the beast is shackled to the wall by chains.
It starts out with just Jackson, Xavier, and Grace.
Yeah.
And they're gone for so long. Or no, something happens, and Jackson gets, like, thrown out, right?
Yeah.
And he goes back and gets the others, and then everybody's in there.
Yeah, Jackson he tries to use his powers on the unkillable beast. It doesn't work that much. He's just shaking the earth around it, and the unkillable beast hits him and throws him out of the cave, sending him away. So now it's just Grace and Xavier in the cave.
And they're just trying to leave. They're just trying to leave and, like, stay alive because, like, stuff is happening, and they're about to die. And Grace still has this, voice in her head screaming at her to not die and to get out, and she's like, duh.
He's like, protect,
protect, don't die, and like all of this stuff, and none of it's making sense. And then Hudson throws this curveball at her, and he says, like, haven't you figured it out yet? And Grace is like, figured out what?
Figured
like,
out
I'm a little,
what?
like, under, stress here. And he's like, it's the unkillable beast. He's talking to you. And Grace is like, no, that's my gargoyle. Like, this is my gargoyle form talking to me. And Hudson's like,
that whole scene.
So everybody at this point is fighting the unkillable beast,
Yep.
right? And things are looking pretty grim. And I have this moment marked down because, like, oh my gosh, it hurt me so much.
It was so sad.
It was so sad. So Hudson at this point has begged them and begged Grace to not go. And now the entire time he's been begging her to turn around and leave.
Yep.
And then things are happening and he's trying to get her to believe him. Yep. He's saying, just talk to it. Just talk to it. And Grace is like, that's the stupidest plan ever. Like, this is the unkillable beast.
Which was Hudson's original plan, was just to talk to it.
Yeah, Hudson had originally said this before they even formulated the plan and their trap. Just talk to him.
Yeah.
And Grace is like, I can't. Like, we need to get this thing. It's unkillable. We need to fight it. And so finally, Hudson has, like, a breakdown on this is in page 539. I have it marked. And he has, like, this whole moment where he, like, he says, that voice telling you to go, telling you not to die, it's him, the unkillable beast. And she says, you're wrong, that's my gargoyle. He says, I'm not wrong, you need to trust me. And she says, I don't believe. And I think she's going to say, don't believe you. And this is where he, like, this is the moment that hurts me. He falls to his knees and is like, please, like, I know I've messed up, but you have to believe me.
Because he just wants everyone to be safe. Like,
yeah, he does.
As much as Hudson was portrayed as a terrible character, he's trying to save them right now.
And he says, I know that's him. I know you can talk to him. I know you can stop this. You're the only one who can. Just listen to me for once in your whole life, like you did when we were.
Did you skip over a word?
Yeah, there's a lot of F words in this monologue.
I was like, this is a lot cleaner than I remember it, but okay.
Yeah. And he says, just listen to me once in your whole effing life like you did when we were together.
Oh my god.
Which is another pointer that stuff was more between them than we think.
But this whole scene was heart-wrenching because we find out that the creature, the unkillable beast...
It happens on this page.
That was talking to them.
Was a gargoyle.
Was a 1,000-year-old gargoyle.
And Grace had mentioned that when she was exposed to magic and, like, being hit with magic, she absorbed it in her gargoyle form and gets bigger.
Yes.
And so then they realized this is why the beast is unkillable and why it's, like, 50 feet tall.
Because it just kept getting bigger.
It kept getting bigger. The more people tried to kill it, the stronger and bigger it became. And so, like, Grace's heart is, like, now breaking because this is, like, her only kin in the world.
Yep.
And it's been tortured, chained up, and, like,
constantly
attacked. And having to kill people in defense of itself.
Yep. And during all of this, there is a scene that happens. I don't want to.
This page.
I don't want to. You say it. I don't want to.
So after Hudson's monologue of begging her to stop, Grace is still not believing him. And then the unkillable beast goes for Macy, who is, like, trying to make them a portal or something. She's trying to get him out. No, she's not making the portal yet. Where's it at? Oh, the beast turns towards Macy with a roar. And so Grace is flying as fast as she can to get there to her cousin, because her cousin's about to die, right?
Yeah.
But who gets there before Grace? Xavier jumps in the way.
Oh my god.
And Xavier takes the hit that was meant for Macy. And
I didn't even realize he died.
I didn't either. I did not. I had, like, a moment of denial. Like, because it essentially says, I can hear the bones shatter from where I am. I can feel his skull crack. And even as I read that, I was like, he's fine.
He's a werewolf.
Fine. He's a werewolf. He can heal. He's just pretty broken. No. Like, this is it for Xavier. And this is where I realized this author is not going to pull punches when it comes to character deaths.
Nope. We're just killing them. I was not prepared for that scene on any level.
Yeah.
Nope.
And as Xavier's prone body is laying there crumpled and broken, Grace throws herself in front of him and screams no.
Yep.
And this is when she starts talking to the beast.
Yep.
And when, she realizes all of this.
And it's also sad, because they don't beat the beast. They don't kill the beast, because we find out it's a gargoyle, and it starts communicating with Grace.
Yeah, it does, and it starts talking, and this poor, tortured creature has been, through so much, and through so much isolation, that it's driven it kind of mad, to the point that it doesn't, talk.
Yep.
It's kind of like talking in broken, childish sentences almost.
Oh my god.
That was what hurt me the most.
It was so sad. So, at first he wants just out. He wants to go home, and they try to get the shackles off
they try to break it, but if they're enchanted shackles, Macy's magic isn't working, Jackson's strength
isn't doing anything.
Nothing
you can't shake him out.
working.
Nothing's working. Grace tells him to come back, and then I think the creature asks why you came, and she told him, and he was like, you need?
Yeah,
you need?
Heartstone.
And I was like, you need Heartstone? And I was just like, I can't!
Yeah, it was in the most, childish, innocent way
I read
that it said it.
I didn't read it as, a kid. For some reason, my brain read it as, I don't know, when you give your dogs voices.
Oh,
I felt like it was Cosmo coming up to me with his ball and going, "You want ball?"
Well, yeah. When I say childish,
I
don't mean like he's a kid.
Yeah.
I mean it's an innocent, childlike way.
Yeah.
It's so innocent, like a dog or a child. There's. He points to his heart, and Grace realizes what they're
after.
To do. They're after the gargoyle's heart,
and she's like, "No!"
And then she realizes she's like, we can't, we're not doing this.
It's like, you keep...
Absolutely not. I don't care about, we'll find another way. We're not doing this to the only other existing that I know of kin.
They leave.
He's been through too much.
They leave. They don't mess with him. They say they're coming back.
They leave. Grace promises him that she will come back for him and that she won't forget him. And so, it's a really touching moment. Even after this thing just killed Xavier, even Macy realizes, and Grace has a moment of appreciation for her cousin, because Macy realizes that this is just another victim of Cyrus's, evilness, right? And so he's just another victim, and, they have this really touching moment, and Grace is like, I'll be back for you, I promise. I'm not going to forget you.
I can't. I'm going to start crying. We can't do this. No. No.
And then Macy builds a portal for everybody, and Xavier, his body, through her magic, turns into, the light of her magic somehow. And so he's I don't know. It was sad.
They transform. They go by life force transportation.
Yeah.
So she uses all of this magic she has. She channels it through Xavier and through herself and through the gargoyle and
through all of them. They're all holding a crystal or something.
When they get back, everyone reforms, and then they're like, "Where is Xavier?" And she goes, "Because it was a life force.
He didn't have a life to return to.
He didn't have a life to return to.
He just kind of turned into the light."
Yeah, so he turned into light, which is a really cool way to go.
Yeah,
but I am
touching. And
so
it was
sad about all of it.
So,
after all
our
of this,
hearts being broken from losing Xavier,
and all of this,
immediately jump into. They have
the trial.
90 minutes to get back to the trial.
And be prepared.
The circle. Yeah, and be prepared for it. Jackson and Grace are drained. They are exhausted. And so they just lost Xavier. Everyone's raw and hurting.
Eden has to go to the hospital. Flint has to go to the infirmary because their bones are broken. Eden's wing is broken
from the unkillable beast.
And Flint's leg was broken from the unkillable beast. So they have to go to the infirmary. Gwen wasn't there. Mackie was already out. Yeah. Xavier dies. And then Macy decides she's going to go get blood and food for Jackson and Grace. So before the trial. Jackson and Grace begin to start walking to the trial. And Jackson's telling her how he's going to protect her and all the things that he's going to do. And he's just going to fade to the end of the game. And all of it's going to be over. And we're not going to have to worry about anything. Which also, to mention, how was fading how were vampires not easily winning this game?
Because there were blocks on their powers. So they could only do
not
it for
in the new game.
No. Well, this is why this is different. So
that's why
the Ludaris is based off of the trial, but the trial has no holds against it.
But that's my question. With the trial, how did vampires not challenge Cyrus by just fading to the end? How were they stopped from fading? Does that make sense?
No one's challenging him.
I know no one's challenged him, but why hasn't others challenged Cyrus?
Because he would kill them.
As a vampire.
So we realized very quickly that Cyrus kills anybody that's a threat to him.
Yeah.
The only reason Grace gets away with this
It's because she's a gargoyle.
is because she's a gargoyle and she's fighting for a spot
of
her own. She's not trying to dethrone Cyrus.
Yeah.
Cyrus would probably just kill anybody that tries.
Try to throw, because I was like, if a vampire was in that trial, they'd just fade. Cyrus didn't win this trial. He just faded to the end. Yeah, like Jackson. That's a cop-out.
Fighting. The other vampires wouldn't be fighting for inclusion, and they wouldn't have the support of the other circle members.
Yeah.
The only reason Grace gets this is because they voted for it. Well, they tried to vote for it.
I understand that. I'm just thinking, as another vampire, you could just fade. Fade. There's no game.
That was Cyrus would just kill them.
But they have all this limited amount of time to get to this place, and now we get to the next heart-wrenching situation.
Another point we missed out on is normally the trials are fought by the person challenged. So typically it should be Cyrus in this and the members of the circle, but they can also choose champions.
Yeah, they chose warrior champions. Cyrus
was going to choose like these like top warriors that he had.
Throughout.
And then Grace's uncle, the headmaster of Katmere, was like, not on my watch. It's like, on my school ground, you're going to use my students. You're not bringing in people that are trained.
Backtrack. This surprised me a lot from him, because he's choosing other students to die in a game, but they made rules that the other students wouldn't die.
Yeah,
because they get bracelets.
All of the other students had they had these magical charmed bracelets that protected them from death.
Yeah.
If they got to the point of like a
no return.
Fatal injury, they would be teleported out into the infirmary before it happened. So Grace and Jackson are on a disadvantage here because they don't have these bracelets.
No, they're going to die if they die.
Yeah, they are in very real danger because they're fighting for a circle seat. So they have to be proving their worth. But the other students, they don't have anything to prove. They're just trying to stop.
And all the other students in this situation were horrible students. We have Cole. We have
Alpha,
Cam.
Yeah.
We have Simona.
Simone, which is another witch that we
kind
of... I almost did. We had a moment where we were talking about characters outside of this, and you said Simon, and I was like, who's Simon?
I said Simon so many times. It's fine.
So now I'm saying Simon.
But we had her, and then we had
a couple dragons.
These characters that weren't mentioned before.
They were like Joaquin and Delphina
I don't know.
Something like that. They were not that important.
Not important. The only important ones that we knew before were Cole and Cam. And Cole's a horrible douchebag of a situation on his own, and then Cam is also a douchebag.
And then there were a couple more wolves, I think, as well.
Yeah, there was like two more wolves.
2 or 3 wolves.
Yeah,
I think.
It was 3 in total.
Mm-hmm. So these students are all gunning after Grace. None of them like her. Cole especially, like, she knows going into this that Cole is going to be bloodthirsty for revenge for her.
And before all of this happens, because they are so tired, they get held up by Cole.
Yeah, he ambushes them. And
of the tournament, right before they get to it.
So, this is a point that leads back. I don't know if we really touched on it in the first book. Jackson had went in the first book in Crave. Jackson went to the Bloodletter for a spell to break his mating bond with Grace.
Yeah.
Because he thought he was too dangerous for her to be around because he almost killed her with the glass and all that. But he rips it up in the first book and throws it away because he realizes that it's not, first of all, his place to decide without her knowing about their mating bond, because at this point she didn't know. And also he wanted to be mated to her. He didn't want to break it.
Yeah. And then it also comes back into a point in this book that he talks about breaking the mating bond to get rid of Hudson, so Hudson doesn't have power to feed on. Which that makes Grace even madder.
It breaks Grace's heart. She's like, how could you even, like, suggest that?
Yeah. So now
as an option?
They get ambushed. They're all being held down, and Cole is holding a ripped up piece of paper.
Yeah, that's, like, been taped back together or something. And it's the spell.
It was, okay, after the spell to get Hudson out, you need 4 artifacts of magic. This spell was too easy to break a mating bond.
I don't think you've reached the point in the 3rd book, because it explains this spell and everything around it.
I'm not trying to bring out the 3rd book right now.
I know.
I was explaining.
I didn't know if you had mentioned it.
I know now,
outside.
But I can't know. Now I gotta edit.
So,
LOL.
Yeah.
But at this point, this spell for me when I was reading this book was too easy to break the bond. it did not make sense that it was this easy to break an unbreakable bond that should only be breakable during death. So as a reader, you're like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah.
But Cole breaks their bond. He breaks Jackson's and Grace's bond, which is described to be the most awful, painful feeling that either of them have ever felt, including the pain of losing her parents is included.
Yeah, Grace has never felt anything like this. Like, it's so, like, ripping and devastating. She tries to revert to her gargoyle form. She tries to go and stay locked and stoned, and Hudson is the only reason that she doesn't. He kicks her out of it, and is like, you have to do this for not only the good of yourself, but for, like, the rest of everybody else. Like, if Cyrus is not left unchecked, the world's pretty much screwed.
So, I don't think we're going to describe the circle trial, because we have, it's a literary game without rules. I think it needs to be read, because I don't think I can do justice for it.
No, it's kind of hard to describe it without being, like, kind of like sports announcer and being like, and then Grace does this, and then Grace does that.
Reading the book. So, I would recommend just read the book, get to this point.
Read it.
We're just talking about all of the moments that we felt.
Jackson doesn't even get off the ground.
Yeah, Jackson doesn't move. Jackson's just weeping. And that broke my heart,
he's staying there
too.
In the fetal position with his hands over his head. He doesn't respond to Grace at all when she tries to tell him that she's going into the tournament. Because she's going in by herself, which, like we said, is never done. This is done as a maid of care.
Ever.
And so Grace steps onto the field by herself. She does this all by herself.
But before she steps on the field, she does let Hudson out of her head. She has all 4 magical items. She uses the 4 items, and she gets Hudson out of her head. Yep. Hudson,
and we find out that Hudson does something for her.
He does give her a gift.
Key. He leaves his powers in a memory for her.
Yes.
Because he knows that she can't do this all alone. It's meant to be impossible to do alone, and he doesn't want her to die. So he leaves his powers willingly with her until she can give them back.
Yep. Which, during all of this, after the tournament happens, and she uses his powers, and she walks to the end, and she does all of the things she does.
Yeah, she's one.
She's one person. She, after a very long, intense battle between this all, she does win the battle, and she has a dome. There's a dome, basically, like Hunger Games first.
Yeah, like
the shield dome, the force field. No one can get through it. The magic, obviously, Jackson, Hudson, Macy, when situations were happening in this game, in this trial, they were trying to get to her, but they couldn't. Yeah. So, at the end, Cyrus comes down, and he goes through the field.
Of cheating.
And accuses her of cheating. And after she says he cheated because he was like, this game is rigged, you shouldn't have won, there's no way you could have won. And she goes, well, you cheated by rigging the game, so there was no way to win it.
Yeah, you broke my mating bond beforehand. Yeah. She knew that Cyrus was behind it. Yeah. Cole. She put him up to it. And he does admit to it. Like, yeah.
He admits to breaking his son's mating bond. So,
Father of the Year award.
Cyrus doesn't even get anything. He gets nothing.
Yeah. And so the punishment for cheating is
death. Because of course.
We know previous to this that Cyrus has something called an eternal bite that no one apparently lives through. It's
at all.
Incredibly deadly. One of the things that makes him a force to be reckoned with.
Yep.
And so he does. He bites Grace.
And then, again, so much has happened. I feel like we've talked a lot about a lot of different things, and it's been going on for a hot minute. But after all of this, finally they get through the magical force field, or Cyrus says she cheated, and then he kills her, and he tells everyone, and everyone's hooting and hawing that she cheated and that she's dying. Hudson, Jackson, Macy, Flint.
No, not Flint.
Just Hudson, Jackson, and Macy get down to her. And Hudson picks her up.
Hudson is the one that gets to her first.
And he gets to her first. And this is the first time Hudson has physically held and touched Grace outside of their mind. So he's holding her. He's panicking.
He's trying to get her to come back. Hang on, kind of don't leave me. Hang on.
And then
Stay
she's
awake.
Basically having contractions of pain hitting her every few minutes.
Yeah,
another
the
roof
pain
of pain.
Is getting worse, I think.
Yeah.
With each, it's getting to the
excruciating. I'm calling contractions because I feel like it's a similar situation. It's like every 5 minutes you have another. So this is happening, and Hudson has an idea to save her, but Jackson's sitting there begging Hudson to give Grace to him.
Yeah, because he thinks his girlfriend's dying.
Yeah, she's just going to die. There's no way Cyrus thinks he's dying. But at this moment, Grace gives Hudson his powers back. And Hudson melts Cyrus. Melts him.
He breaks, like, simultaneously with a wave of his hand every single bone in Cyrus's body.
Every single
So he just
bone.
kind of, like...
I just imagined, like, the puddle.
Yeah, same. He just kind of, like, melts down.
Just melts down into a puddle.
And then Hudson also, with his powers...
You can say it!
Without even, like, you know, this is showcasing how powerful Hudson is.
Yeah, this is
Not only did he, like, disintegrate every bone in his father's body with the wave of his hand, with just a thought, he starts bringing down the tournament, like, dome.
Yeah.
Like,
the whole stadium. So imagine, like, Harry Potter Quidditch Stadium. All of that is just shaking and shattering, and people are running. Which, in this moment, Grace knows that Hudson's not hurting anyone. He's just proving a point.
Yeah.
And walking away.
This is an outlet for his anger and his fear that he has about losing Grace.
They finally get out. Jackson is following. Macy's following. And Jackson and Macy are, like, freaking out. What are you doing? Hudson finally hands Jackson Grace. And they're having their whole moment.
Saying their goodbyes and all that.
So...
It's heartbreaking. I was in tears at this point. I was very sad. This was hurting me a lot.
And we're almost at the end, guys. We're minutes away.
Not even probably that.
So during this, Hudson is digging a hole with his powers to a grave, and he has. I don't remember if Jackson put Grace in there.
Jackson put Grace in there, and Jackson put the stones over her.
Yeah, because Hudson was like, put her in. And he goes, I'm not burying her. I'm not burying her while she's still alive. And he said, put her in. And he put her in, and then they said, bury her.
Yeah, they started placing rocks over her.
Rocks and stone and all of the things over her. And then they were all freaking out, and they had this whole moment. And then all of a sudden, Jackson and Hudson are, like, fighting each other in conversation. And Macy's like, guys, look! Yeah. And then we get panned over to Grace, and the stones are being absorbed into her skin.
Yeah.
Which, like, also, what the freaking cool power is that for a gargoyle?
She just healed herself with earth magic.
Like, Tracy, well done. Having the magic of the earth absorb into her body.
Cool.
I like it. Not only during that, but we also found out in the Luterus games, when you read that for the trial, for the circle, she has water abilities, which is also really cool.
She has an affinity for all of the elements as a gargoyle.
There's so many powers to unlock.
So she started to harness them. But earth magic kills her.
Yeah. And then water magic. But
so this is the end of Grace's point of view.
Yep.
And then we have a chapter from Hudson's point of view, which is where we're getting this, I think, of Grace coming back.
Yeah.
And then Jackson and Grace are having their moment of being reunited, of Grace being alive. And this is where we end the book.
Do you want to read the line?
The biggest cliffhanger. I will pull up the line.
Do you want to read the line?
Because how can you not? So, let's see. Hudson's point of view. Okay, this is the extra chapters in Hudson's point of view. Where's the actual one? Which, I really enjoy this fact about the books. Side note, there's extra chapters in the back of the book after the book ends from a different character's point of view. From chapters from Grace's point of view. So you get to see a different side.
It is nice. I liked seeing Hudson's point of view at the end.
Yeah, so let's see.
The closing line of the book.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so Hudson is thinking about the war to come and everything. I'll read, like, the last paragraph.
Okay, you go for it.
Leading up to it. Okay. So it says, because as Jackson reaches down to help Grace from the hole I created for her, he wraps his arms around her and presses her body to his. And I begin to see red, even before he leans down to kiss her. And every ounce of chill and emotional self-preservation I have goes out the window. There's lots of curse words in this, which I will skip
Hudson
over.
cusses a lot.
He cusses a lot. He's a very colorful British man.
I like it.
My hands curl into fists, my fangs explode in my mouth, and though there are a million other ways I was hoping to break my newfound knowledge to Grace, the words come out before I can even think about stopping them. Jackson, if you wouldn't mind, take your effing hands off my mate.
Whew!
The end.
End of book 2. That's where we get left off. Great. Now Hudson's mated to Grace, and Grace and Jackson were once mated, and now everything that I knew about mated bonds is out the freaking window.
Yeah. Holy cow. I would say mind blown, but I honestly kind of thought that something was going to happen with Grace and Hudson.
I told you they were going to get mated in
Yeah,
Crave. I said it.
She did call it.
I did call it.
She called that Hudson and Grace would be mated. I kind of figured there was something going to be there, but I didn't know if they would be mates because I didn't know if it was possible for someone to have more than one mate.
I got thrown off, and this is something that I still think, going into the third book, this is what I knew in the second book, and I told you this with only knowledge of the second book, that the colors of Jackson and Grace's bond didn't make sense.
Green and going into black.
Is green and going to black, because every other string in her mind is a full color, and hers with Jackson and hers was green and black. Mm-hmm. And I've never, like, if you're supposed to be one, you see, that seems like two, not one, and they're not even mixing colors.
Yeah.
So, it just didn't seem very accurate to me. So that is the end of the book. Now, we do get the bonus chapters that she did mention. With Hudson's point of view, you get how Hudson felt when he was trapped in his head. You get some of the beginning of the first months and all of those memories. And it's really nice to see that part of Hudson. And then you also get the ending of Hudson. Yeah. So my heart breaks for that. But we are at the end of the book of Crush. Rating. What do you got?
I'm reluctant to give it a 6 stars. I'm 5. Definitely. It's towing 6 for me though. It was holy cow.
Is it not beating Fourth Wing or
not okay. So this book in and of itself is not beating Fourth Wing for me, but it is up there in my reads. Like this has dethroned several of my other reads so far this year. It is very good. 5.5 stars. I think I can give it.
I would agree with that.
I'm not sure if I'm willing to call it a 6-star read.
I feel like if it's
as you would say,
gonna keep getting better, I'm scared for a book to not be as good.
I am too, and this book for me was very good.
I would agree with that rating.
About it. So yeah, that's my rating for it. I enjoyed it a lot more than the first, even though I enjoyed the first.
Aren't we so happy that I was randomly like, hey, Crave is about a school. Let's read that book. I don't know anything about it.
Yes.
We can try it out.
I am sad to think of a life without this story.
I know, right?
It
breaks my heart. I would also give this book a 5 or a 5.5. I would say it's near a 6 for me as well, but I don't know yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like my ratings for books are it's gonna be hard. If this is a full 5-star series, it's a 6-star series.
Yeah, if every book
hits where it's been hitting right now, it's a 6-star series. Like how do you this is getting back to where I said it's as good as Harry Potter.
Yeah, it is. I will say, like, it is on the trajectory to be one of my favorite series, like, of all time.
Very shocking.
We talked about that in our last episode of having, like, our favorite series. This series for me it's getting up there for me. And if every other book continues on the trend that it has been, it's gonna be a 6-star series for me.
Like, I'm so sad for future us if it doesn't continue trending the way it's trending. Because it's going to break my heart to sit here on the podcast and be like, this isn't as good.
Normally, like, I feel like every series has at least one book where you're just like, it kind of wasn't it. For me, like, ACOTAR, like, we talked about that as well, and you're pointing it out for those that can't see it. I can't believe you say it's that book for you. She's pointing at A Court of Wings and Ruin, which for me was, like, a really good read.
It's the end of A Court of Rings and Ruin and A Court of Frost and Starlight.
Okay, so A Court of Frost and Starlight is a lot of people's, like, read in that series.
Which one's your Do you not like A Court of Thorns and Roses?
No, not as much. But for me, it's Silver Flames.
Oh, hold up. I wasn't including Silver Flames in this series. I didn't know that was an option. I retract my statement. It's this one.
Sorry for anybody that really loves Nesta.
I didn't know we were including this one. I think this is its own book.
Yeah, Nesta made it very hard for me. Out of Faye's point of view, if you're only counting Faye's point of view, ACOTAR would be my least favorite. It was the for me. But it did enough to get me hooked in the series, so I guess I can't say that.
If it's out of Freya's, I would go with this one. I like these two more. Yeah. Thorns of Roses is a Beauty and Beast retelling for me. This one was perfect. This Mist and Fury was...
A Court of Mist and Fury is a Bible to me.
Wings of Court and Ruin. I love me some politics, but it just dragged on, and it wasn't very political.
I can see the fact that it did drag some, but there's
too much training.
There's so there's so many scenes in that book that I love too much to call it a miss.
For
And
me,
then,
it's the most out of the series.
and
so.
then A Court of Frost and Starlight is a lot of people's like, eh. But
You don't
to
need
me,
it.
it was no, you don't. But to me, it was nice to have a cozy, happy story. Like I really enjoyed seeing everyone happy for once.
That's fair.
And it's the wrap up of Faye Stan's point of view,
Yeah.
which I can't believe. I want another Faye Stan novel so bad.
This is its own. I know it's front facing.
I'm again sorry to all the Nesta lovers, but I'm begging SJM to not do another Nesta point of view. I can't deal with it.
Let's not. Let's just choose not to do that. Or Elaine, I don't need that either. Please give me a gentleman caller's point of view. That would be great.
I do want Azrael's point of view though. If I have to deal with that through an Elaine book, I will deal with it. But.
Yeah. All right, so I think that wraps it up for today. For Crush, we'll be back with Covet in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so next week we will have another kind of fun,
just conversational
episode.
And then we'll get back into the series. Hopefully, we might, depending on our reading ability to be speedy, we might do Covet and Court together. Mm-hmm. If we don't read enough fast enough, then we'll just do Covet. But
we'll make an announcement on
you'll
Instagram
see it on social media
before we have the episode, so you'll know how much you guys need to keep up with us if you're keeping up.
All right, I think that's all for tonight. Thank you guys for listening and joining. Don't forget to subscribe, follow on all of the platforms, follow us on whatever podcast platform you watch us on. Don't forget to comment, DM us if you have any thoughts and opinions. If you are reading along, let us know. We definitely want to know where you're at, and we can also freak out at the same time together. Do you have anything left? Do you want to say, Laken?
No. Make sure to, like you said, follow us on Instagram. It's where we post all of the things about upcoming, what we're doing, and how to keep in touch with everything that's going on.
Send book recommendations, as many as you have. I know we're doing the Crave series right now, but once we get out of it, we are going to need some book recommendations.
We're going to need something to fill this hole, I'm sure.
That's going
to be left behind.
Give us some nice breeze. I would like a breeze read after a series. Just something to refresh the palate and then jump into a series again.
Yeah.
But let us know. And I think that's all. So happy birthday if it's your birthday. Farewell from us at Biblio Madness.
Yep. Happy reading to everybody.
Oh, happy reading. I like that. All right. Bye.